this is bombshell after bombshell. And, Dave, when I actually got into the papers and started reading them, I thought of you because you're an honest broker. And what you said when the news broke last time you were on about their alleged affair was, we found out that they were denying they had started the affair at the time she hired him. And you pointed out that's legally significant. It does matter if the affair just developed later. It's definitely more beneficial to them if she didn't hire her current lover. And now we see tomorrow we're going to have his former divorce lawyer, who started off as his friend, take the stand, according to Ashley Merchant. His name is Terrence Bradley. And he is going to testify directly, not with privileged information, but based on their friendship, that these two are having an affair long before November 2021 when FANI WILLIS hired him. And to that, you say what?
Well, first, it's good to be with you on Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday, Megan and Mike. I think it's a real problem twofold. First, it does matter when the relationship began. If it began before Nathan Wade was hired, that's a problem. And then it's also a problem if they lied. And if they lied, both of them have submitted information under oath, then there's no question. I would agree with you. They would be pulled off the case. I think that as an initial matter, that Nathan Wade should step aside. FANI WILLIS should have someone else lead the charge. They already have two other special prosecutors. So just for the appearance, they should have Nathan Wade step aside. But if it is proven that both of them lied and that the relationship, in fact, started before Nathan Wade was hired, then they're going to be disqualified from the case. And when you disqualify a prosecutor from the case, you would disqualify the entire office. This was the issue with the Jussie Smollett, remember, Megan, where the prosecutor disqualified herself, but her office kept running the case. That doesn't work. That's not appropriate. And then it would get assigned to a different district attorney. But this case would not go away.
Well, yeah, I agree. That's a bigger stretch, although I've heard smart legal experts say it could. It's not the smart bet, but it could. But this is, I just want to note for the audience, this is significant because you've been defending her to the best of your abilities thus far. And even you concede that if Ashley Merchant, the defendant, the lawyer for her defendant, Roman, can prove this, as she's proffered to the court she can, you think FANI WILLIS and Nathan Wade have to go?
Yeah, and Bradley is the key witness here. And you correctly identify the issue because he was Nathan Wade's divorce lawyer at some point. There are some issues of attorney-client privilege, but he can testify as a lay witness to what he has seen outside of those confines. And he's the key witness. And if they can prove not only that there was a relationship in advance of his hiring, that, by the way, that would be enough. But if they also prove that they lied about it, then there could be more consequences than just disqualification. They could face bar disciplinary actions as well.
That's the thing. So there's so much to go over, Mike. Let me just get your overall take on my opening talking points there.
I think it was spot on. Fanny's toast. I actually think that not only will Fanny get disqualified and Nathan Wade get disqualified by this Fulton County judge, I actually think the case has to be dismissed, and then a new prosecutor can decide whether he or she wants to refile this case, because this case has been unethically tainted, illegally tainted since before its inception, right? If these allegations are true, it's actually true. I mean, she's admitted that their relationship started before she brought this indictment, right? So she may have hired him. She could be lying about when it started. She could have had this relationship going back to 2020. And if that's the case, both Fanny and Nathan Wade are going to face perjury allegations and maybe even prison time. They should go to prison if they lied because they made misrepresentations to the court in response to Mike Roman's motion to dismiss. You had both Nathan Wade file an affidavit, a sworn affidavit, and then FANI WILLIS relied on that affidavit in her court filing in opposition to Mike Roman's motion to dismiss. So if they lied about that, they should be disqualified. They should be disbarred. They should be charged with perjury. They should be put in prison.
And let me just jump in.
Case,
I don't want. I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought because I really do want to hear your overall thoughts. But just for the record, Nathan Wade submitted a sworn affidavit. He's under oath and he's subject to penalties of perjury. She signed the brief representing to the court both what he said in his affidavit and, one presumes, as an officer of the court, that, I'll read it, Attorney Willis and Special Prosecutor Wade have been professional associates and friends since 2019, but there was no personal relationship between them in November 2021 at the time of Special Prosecutor Wade's appointment. So she puts that herself in a brief that she signed. That's not a perjury thing, but it's absolutely an ethical thing. You cannot knowingly mislead the court as an officer of it. So keep going, Mike.
Well, I mean, if she's aiding and abetting perjury, that's perjury. But I would say this, remember, and technically she didn't sign, she had one of her subordinates sign that brief, but her name's on the brief as the
Fulton
County attorney. Yeah, so she would absolutely be liable for that filing, right? So look, if these allegations are true, I think this case has to be dismissed. And then you bring in a new prosecutor, whether it's the state attorney general, Chris Carr, maybe it gets assigned to another prosecutor elsewhere in the state, and then they're going to have to make the independent judgment free from this financial conflict of interest that FANI Willis is making money off of this prosecution of President Trump and 18 co-defendants based upon a bogus novel RICO conspiracy theory against political opponents. A new prosecutor is going to have to come in and have independent judgment whether they're going to bring recharge President Trump and these 18 co-defendants. But I absolutely think this case needs to be kicked.
Okay, so here's what she's saying, Dave. I mean, this is huge. These are very, very big stakes we're talking about right here because, you know, he really needs to pull an inside straight to avoid all these charges, and he's on his way to doing it, is really how this is looking, given there are delays in the Jack Smith federal trial in D.C., the New York case people don't care about as much, the Miami case based on the Mar-a-Lago documents, that's Dave's jurisdiction, is slow-rolled entirely because of all the classified documents thing, and it's a friendly to Trump judge there, so he's got that going for him. And so this case is potentially very problematic for Trump, and this is an amazing development for him. So Terrence Bradley is the former Nathan Wade divorce lawyer who Ashley Merchant, the lawyer, says she's going to call tomorrow. And not just him. She's got a whole list of people she's ready to call in case, I don't know, he gets impeached. I don't know, just to back him up. We'll see. But here is what the defendant, Michael Roman, argued in his brief about Terrence Bradley. They say Willis and Wade claim they didn't have a personal romantic relationship before Willis appointed Wade as a special prosecutor, but Terrence Bradley will refute that claim. Bradley is an attorney and member of the Georgia Bar. Bradley and Wade were friends and business associates. Bradley has non-privileged personal knowledge that the romantic relationship began prior to Willis being sworn in as district attorney in January 2021, so well before. Thus, Bradley can confirm that Willis contracted with Wade after Wade and Willis had begun a romantic relationship, thus rebutting Wade's claim that they didn't start dating until 2022. It goes on. Bradley obtained information about the relationship between them directly from Wade when Wade was not seeking legal advice from Bradley. He obtained this information in a personal capacity as Wade's friend prior to Wade's decision to file for divorce. While Bradley would later represent Wade for a time in the divorce proceeding, the information about the relationship was obtained prior to the attorney-client relationship beginning. None of Bradley's testimony will relate to any privileged info or work product. Bradley also has personal knowledge that Wade and Willis regularly stayed together at her home until Willis's father moved into her home sometime in 2020. And they go on to allege they'll be able to prove cohabitation of some sort. So that's what we're going to hear from Terrence Bradley. And then here, just flipping now, Dave, to Nathan Wade's sworn affidavit. He says, while professional associates and friends since 2019, there was no personal relationship between District Attorney Willis and me prior to or at the time of my appointment as special prosecutor. Because I was thinking, Dave, maybe he could get out of it by saying he just alleged in the affidavit at the time of, it was off again, on again. Maybe that's how he wiggled out, but no, he says never, not prior to, not at the time she appointed me. And it wasn't until 2022 that we developed a personal relationship in addition to the professional friendship. And on it goes. Oh, and he also says, I have never cohabitated with District Attorney Willis, which Ashley Merchant is also going to take on through witness testimony tomorrow. I mean, if she can prove these are lies, and look, the affair, when it began, like the judge is going to be able to make a judgment call, Dave, on who's telling the truth there.
Yeah, and Judge McAfee's doing a great job here.
I do think he's doing well. I agree with you. Just watching him at this hearing, he seemed like a straight shooter to me. I haven't seen much more, but what I saw in that hearing was a fair, normal judge.
What's amazing about him is that I think he's only 35 years old, which I think belies his gravitas. And maybe it's because he has that receding hairline. But whatever it is, he's doing a good job. As far as this development here, I think a lot depends on what the personal relationship is. That's kind of a broad term. Is it enough if they show that they had a sexual encounter before he was hired? Is that enough? And I think it's a sordid question, but Judge McAfee's going to have to delve into that. What kind of personal relationship did they have? So the devil really is in the details. And as far as cohabitation, actually, I think that's their weakest argument, because according to what I've seen, that FANI WILLIS is going to have a sworn testimony that there was no cohabitation. So I think it's going to turn on what was their personal relationship. Did it really, are they trying to mislead the court? Did they have a one-time fling, or did they actually have some sort of relationship that would disqualify them?